Ethan Cole was a man who lived a life full of rules and plans. He was the owner of a large company that had been in his family for many years. Every day, Ethan wore a suit and tie and walked through tall glass buildings. His life was busy and controlled. People called him a tycoon because he was rich and smart. But inside, Ethan felt lonely. He had been hurt before, and he did not trust easily. Leela Bennett lived a very different life. She was a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She worked hard to take care of her mother and younger brother. Leela had dreams, but she did not have much money. She painted and drew whenever she could, hoping one day her art would be seen by others. Leela did not know Ethan or his world. She lived in a small apartment in a busy city far from his tall buildings. One day, Ethan's grandmother told him he must get married before she would let him take full control of the company. She wanted to see his fiancée. The problem was Ethan did not have a fiancée. He had never wanted to marry anyone because of his past. Now he needed to find someone fast. Ethan asked a friend for help. The friend suggested Leela. She could pretend to be his fiancée for a little while. At first, Leela was surprised. She did not want to lie, but she needed money to help her family. So, she agreed to play the part. The first time Ethan met Leela was at a quiet cafe. Ethan looked at her carefully. She seemed real and honest. Leela looked at Ethan and saw a man who was strong, but also tired. They shook hands and made their plan. They would say they were engaged and act like a couple. No one needed to know the truth. Their first meeting was strange. They did not know how to act like lovers. Ethan was stiff and serious. Leela smiled and tried to make him feel more at ease. They talked about simple things. Leela told Ethan stories about her life. Ethan listened quietly. Slowly, they began to feel comfortable with each other. Every day, Leela and Ethan practiced their story. They went to places where people might see them. They held hands in public and shared small moments. Ethan was surprised to find himself laughing more. Leela saw a softer side of him. She saw the man behind the businessman. One afternoon, Ethan took Leela to his family's big house by the lake. The house was quiet and beautiful. Ethan's grandmother was there. She watched Leela carefully, looking for any signs that she was not real. Leela felt nervous but stayed calm. The grandmother asked many questions. Leela answered with honesty and kindness. She spoke about her dreams and fears. The grandmother saw something in Leela that she liked. Maybe Leela was different from the others. Ethan and Leela spent the weekend at the lake house. They sat by the fire and talked late into the night. Ethan showed Leela his paintings. He had hidden his love for art because it did not seem important to his business life. Leela touched the paintings and smiled. She told Ethan to keep painting and never stop. Slowly, Ethan's walls began to fall. He shared stories from his past that he had never told anyone. Leela listened without judgment. She gave him hope that life could be more than work and rules. The more time they spent together, the harder it became to remember that their engagement was pretend. Ethan found himself wanting to protect Leela. Leela wished she could stay in Ethan's world forever. One evening, as the sun set over the lake, they shared a quiet moment. Ethan reached for Leela's hand and held it gently. Their eyes met, and something deep inside both of them changed. The fake engagement had become something real. They did not say it out loud, but both knew it was true. But their happiness was fragile. Leela overheard a talk between Ethan and his lawyer. She heard words about their contract, how everything was a lie. Her heart broke. She felt used and sad. She could not stay. Without telling Ethan, Leela packed her things and left the lake house. She went back to the city, to the life she knew. Ethan found out she was gone and felt a pain he could not hide. He knew he had lost something precious. At the next big meeting at Ethan's company, Leela's chair was empty. People asked where she was. Ethan looked around and took a deep breath. He said she was not just part of his plan. She was the one thing he could not live without. After that, Ethan left the meeting and the company. He needed time to think. He wanted to find Leela and tell her the truth about his feelings. Leela returned to her small apartment in the city. The busy streets were the same as before, but Leela felt very different. The laughter and noise around her did not reach her heart. She missed the quiet of the lake house and the warmth of Ethan's company. Yet, she told herself she made the right choice by leaving. She did not want to be just a pretend fiancé or a temporary part of Ethan's life. She started working extra hours at the cafe where she waited tables. Her mother needed medicine, and her brother still needed help with school. Leela drew in her small notebook whenever she could find time. Her pictures were full of colors and hope, but deep inside she felt a quiet sadness. Ethan, on the other hand, had left the city and his company behind. He needed space to think. He drove to the lake house and stayed there alone. Every day he painted. His hands moved quickly over the canvas, but his mind was full of thoughts of Leela. The fake engagement had been just a game, but his feelings were real. He missed her smile, her kindness, and the way she made him feel alive. One day, Ethan found a letter on his doorstep. It was from Leela's brother, Noah. The letter said thank you for helping Leela and her family. Noah told Ethan that Leela never stopped talking about him. She believed in him, even when she felt scared. Ethan read the letter many times. It made him realize how much Leela meant to him. Leela's world began to change slowly. She received an invitation to show her paintings at a small gallery. It was a chance to share her art with more people. She was nervous, but excited. When she arrived at the gallery, she saw a painting hanging on the wall that she had not brought. It was a picture of her, drawn with soft lines and bright colors. The painting was beautiful and full of life. Leela asked the gallery owner who left the painting. The owner said that a man asked him to hang it, but did not give his name. Leela knew at once who it was. Ethan wanted her to see that he thought of her even when they were apart. Leela felt a pull in her heart. She wanted to find Ethan and tell him how she really felt. She looked at the map inside the gallery invitation. There was a mark on the lake house where they had spent time together. A note was folded inside the envelope. It said, "If you still feel the same, come to me. I am waiting." Without hesitation, Leela packed a bag and took a train to the lake house. The journey was long, but she did not feel tired. When she arrived, the sun was setting behind the hills, casting a warm light on the water. Ethan was outside, painting on a large canvas. He turned when he saw her. His eyes grew wide, and a smile slowly spread across his face. Leela walked to him, and they stood close, neither one speaking at first. The quiet between them was filled with all the things they wanted to say. Ethan broke the silence. He told Leela that he did not want to pretend anymore. He wanted to live honestly and fully with her by his side. He said he was ready to share his life, not just his company. Leela listened and felt her heart open. She told Ethan that she left because she was afraid she was not enough. But now she knew that she was not pretending. Her feelings were real. She wanted to try again, but only if Ethan was sure. Ethan took her hand and promised that this time, everything would be different. He wanted to build a life together, not based on contracts or lies, but on trust and love. They spent the next days walking by the lake, cooking simple meals and sharing stories. The quiet moments were full of meaning. They learned more about each other and themselves. Leela showed Ethan how to see beauty in small things, and Ethan helped Leela find courage to dream bigger. Ethan decided to start a project to help young artists in the city. He wanted to give back and support people like Leela. Leela opened a small art studio where she could teach children to paint. Together, they found joy in helping others and in their own lives. Months passed, and their love grew stronger. They were no longer pretending. They were partners, friends, and lovers. One evening, under the stars by the lake, Ethan knelt and asked Leela to marry him. He gave her a simple ring, a symbol of their true beginning. Leela smiled and said yes. They knew life would not always be easy, but they were ready to face it together. Their story was no longer about pretending. It was about finding real love where they least expected it. They celebrated with a small gathering of friends and family by the lake house. The night was full of laughter and music. The stars shone bright above them, as if the world was watching and blessing their new start. Ethan and Leela stood side by side, looking out at the water. They knew their journey was just beginning, but this time, their hearts were open, and their love was true.